As for the rise in cases we have been seeing lately, we wanted to find out why that is. Our Gretchen Parsons spoke with Dr. David Pate, retired CEO of St. Luke's Health and a member of the state's coronavirus task force. So Gretchen, what are his thoughts on this?
Well, Kim, of course, as we know, school has started, so Dr. Pate says that's one reason, but there's also several others behind this uptick in cases. He believes cases are going to continue to trend upward, even more so in the next couple of weeks.
I think we're a week in to our third spike that's going to be bigger than either of the ones before.
In Idaho, we first saw a spike in coronavirus cases in the months of March and April, and then again in July and August. And for the third time, Idaho is back on the rise. Dr. David Pate, who sits on the state's coronavirus task force, says several factors are to blame.
Every week, we're opening up another school. We're putting more kids in classrooms. In addition, we have college campuses back open, and so students there. In addition, we've resumed sports. In addition, because those numbers were coming down, you'll recall our discussions, okay, maybe we should reopen bars.
Dr. Pate also believes large weddings are adding to the increase in cases. He says hospitalization rates tend to lag, but are still higher compared to the early stages of the pandemic.
The number of people in the hospital is about twice. It's a little bit more than twice what we had back in March and April. And really concerningly, the number of people we have in intensive care units is almost 2.5 times that amount.
In the next few weeks to come, Dr. Pate anticipates COVID-19 rates in Idaho to rise to the most that they've ever been.
Next month, probably, certainly by November, we're going to have cold and flu season to add to that. That's going to make things worse. Also, as the weather gets cooler, more and more activities will move indoors. And you remember us always saying, anything you do is safer outdoors than it is indoors.
The best advice, he says, is to keep your distance from people. Well, Dr. Pate, he mentioned flu season around the corner. He says it's best to get your flu shot now, have your family get it as well, and that way it won't put a strain on the healthcare system when, you know, people are getting sick with coronavirus as well. So get that done sooner rather than later.
Well,
Kim?
Gretchen, it's pretty eye-opening when he says, I think we are a week into our third spike that is going to be bigger than either of the ones before.
Yeah.
That's pretty eye-opening.
Just adding all those factors that he was talking about combined with the cold weather is where he's basing that off.
Where he thinks it's going to be headed. All right, Gretchen, thank you.